Welcome to 2025. 2024 is done and dusted, and I wanted to share a game plan for what I think you should be considering for 2025, keeping in mind what comes after 2025. And this is where it gets a little bit scary. So, of course, it's New Year's Day. I hope people are actually enjoying it and touching grass physically out there in nature, actually, getting a little bit of space, enjoying themselves. And then starting from tomorrow, I'll be back and I'll be locked in. And I'll be trying to not balance, but trying to get some sort of outside time whenever possible. So I watched a video from Michael Pizzino, a friend, and it'll be linked below, and it's very worthwhile watching. It's less than 10 minutes and it's worth your time. Essentially, you know that I believe that there is a property cycle, a bigger cycle at play. This is the 18.6 year property cycle. The last time it was, an absolute crash was the end of 2008, 2009, in this period, and that's when Bitcoin was created. And Bitcoin was created because of this reason by Satoshi Nakamoto. And we are basically due for this to happen again. So 2026 to 2028, somewhere around that time. The exact timing, it's not guaranteed because it's an average of 18.6 years. Long story short, we're in this bull market. The final year, 2 years or thereabouts before the peak, or as we're going up to the peak, this is the time just to be locked in and just to execute a plan. But this time is not different, right? If you've been around in crypto for a little bit, even I was drawn into this last cycle as well. You're going to reach a point where, maybe it is a super cycle. You know what? Maybe it does keep on going up. You know what? When it sells $800 or $1,000, maybe it could go to $1,500 or $2,000 in the next year. Well, I don't believe any of that's going to be the case. And this is why I'm doing this video just to align my intentions. The channel will still have a huge amount of normal free content, and I will teach you whatever. And from there, I'm also going to go and create a separate group, a paid community. You're welcome to join. It'll be a little bit of an invite-only basis. If you're not up to a certain level of skill set, or if you're just there to not learn, then I'm sorry, there's just not enough time. But what I want to illustrate right now in this video, and then cover far more, is we need to have a plan. If you think like I think, if you think that right now things are looking pretty good, but then there will be a point where it will be kind of scary. And that would mean that you'd probably be wanting to get, before this point hits, maybe second citizenship. Maybe you want a decent amount that you can still work, but you don't need to work necessarily, or you've got money set aside. You want to learn self-custody. You want to ideally maybe have a company or companies around the world legally, which I'm not going to cover or teach you, but in a way so that if you're in one country, and I don't want to name a specific country, but if you're in one country and they don't allow you to send any money outside, then you're okay. Michael Pizzino also mentioned, and he's done this in 2 videos, this one briefly and another one, which I'll also link below, that come 2026, after this period, these wars, they could actually start to heat up. Because, there is a huge amount of conflict in the world, and we just can't agree on things. People don't find commonality. I listen to people's viewpoints, I see people's viewpoints, and I'm cool with that. But I am in the minority of people, and that was also a learned skill. You can see just from the left and the right. You can see with the war in Ukraine and Russia. You can see all sorts of things. And there's also a far bigger picture. I don't have all the basics, and if I even talk about this, about anything that's mildly uncomfortable, people in the comments will just get really upset, and that hurts my reach of the channel in actually educating people. So it's very, very dangerous to even have an open conversation. But all this means that we're at a tipping point. Humans need some sort of enemy, it seems. We are tribal, and if you cannot have an external enemy, then you have an internal enemy, like what is present in the USA. The USA, a lot of the states in the USA, San Francisco, LA, New York, I know the cities, but you know what I mean. These are failed states, essentially. the level of homelessness and like drug addiction. And this is from, the biggest superpower in the world. They can't fix up or keep their own they can't keep their own country running. And yet they're the ones that are basically protecting so many countries via NATO, via reduction in piracy, all that sort of stuff that's just too complex for the video. So let's just kind of move on and just keep in mind that 2025 will be lucrative if you know what you're doing and if you put in the effort. However, from 2026, and we don't know the exact time, maybe the bull market even goes for crypto into early 2026. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe stocks start to go even more parabolic very, very beginning of 2026. We just don't know. All we know is that with the coming of central bank digital currencies, with the fact that, via the last pandemic, governments can choose to not let citizens leave, that ideally you want to set yourself up so that you are in a place where you are relying on yourself, you've set up your family, you're looking after your family, and you're not relying on the government. And if you have to rely on the government, you want to try and remove as much of that dependency as possible. And I think this is really, really quite scary because artificial intelligence is crazy. Some people don't even understand how amazing it is, but it basically, if you know what you're doing, you can take a team of like 5 people or 10 people, get rid of 9 of them, and then just have like a boss and like a core epic developer, and all the rest kind of done. And it's in its early stage. There's something called like super artificial intelligence. We won't go into that, but this stuff is scary. So you need to understand and use the AI tools. And if you don't have like a premium X to use Gronk, if you don't have maybe Claude or ChatGPT premium, and if you're not using these things daily, then you are losing an edge. And I do want you to use those sort of tools at the very bare minimum. In addition to this, like there's talks of, universal basic income, UBI. I just don't know how that's going to work because there's not a precedent. There's not a precedent to show that works. It doesn't seem to work in my mind, and I haven't read any books on it, just watched some videos and I've had my own thoughts. But it doesn't seem to work in a way where if you give money, because this is what welfare is, if you give money to those that don't work or can't work, they are not good enough to work, and you take it from those that can work, it's never worked. So what I want to leave with is nothing, nothing upsetting or anything like that. Just 2025, make it a good one. Please lock in. Please look after your health. Please, try whatever. This is not health advice, but try some fasting. I need to do some fasting myself. Eat a good diet. Don't eat just random crap. Do some exercise and just upskill. I have, in my team, people that are upskilling all the time, and some people that I know that I'm trying to help upskill just in life. And I'm a little worried for them, to be honest, because they just don't have the skills that I think they're needing to have moving forward. Of course, if you're really, really good at, being on the computer, making crypto money, cash it out in the legal way, of course, pay your taxes, all that sort of jazz. And if you can upskill into another area like building houses or using your hands in some sort of form, it's going to be, another 10 years before that is gone or severely reduced by robots. But still, this is the actual outlook. And what we can say is, humans will always adapt. And that's true. But we've never had to adapt to anything quite like this. The invention of, say, the motor car. Those people that fixed horse buggies, they became mechanics on auto cars. The invention of the typewriter, that then changed to the laptop. Well, it didn't affect the same way that artificial intelligence and robotics will make crazy changes. So for 2025, please, make a whole lot of money. Do not scam people. Do not do stuff that's dangerous. Keep your health in order. If you're going to leverage trade, which I'm not suggesting, make sure you know what you're doing. Use your stop losses. Use your take profits. Don't get too greedy as well. And just remember that this is a cycle. You've got maybe a year, a little more, a little less. I'm unsure. And you do need to put in the work. You need to put in the work to make it happen. There's no one going to be just holding your hand throughout the entire process. And then if you believe as I believe, I'll link some other resources below. I would love to be wrong. And I'm not saying going and, building a bomb shelter or doomsday kind of dungeon underneath your land. But I'm just saying, prepare if things get a little bit wild, because they certainly could actually get a little bit wild. And I would love to be wrong. I would love for leaders to be strong enough to negotiate amongst themselves and not create craziness. I do think it's going to be a rough time after this cycle ends. It'll be a brutal bear market. Brutal, properly brutal. I will survive. In the projects that I'm involved with, they will survive. But the token prices will dip hugely. This is not financial advice, just my personal opinion. And so many people will lose interest. And the other thing with crypto that I want to end with is we're all in crypto, really. Like 90 to 99% of us are in crypto just purely for the gains. There's that small section that really believe that we need permissionless money, stuff like that. And there's a strong part of me that believes those tools are great. I think DeFi is amazing. You use banks, you understand DeFi is amazing. However, I think more of us need to actually deal with banks seizing our money. That happened in 2007, 2008, by the way. And then we're going to understand what crypto's like. So the next bull run, people will be there building and in it, more so for the tech. But at the same time, crypto doesn't have militaries. It relies on lobbyists, it relies on donations, it relies on people building solutions, because governments have militaries and they can use those militaries to enforce whatever their agenda is. The other thing to keep in mind is, even if you are absolutely pro-Trump, or if you hate Trump, I don't mind, at the end of the day, a lot of us don't really think that either party makes a difference. I think the Republican does make more changes faster in our industry, and I think it's better for our industry. But the markets will still behave as the markets behave. The markets run the world. They run the world, and governments sit there pretending that they do. But the reality is, I don't think they do. So even if it changes to a Democrat party, if they're pro-crypto, things will still run their course, and it will be a very difficult time. The only way out that they will use will be money printing, or maybe they'll start to build up this Bitcoin fund, to offset the money printing, whatever. Either way, the world leaders have inherited an absolute shit show. And the reality is, if you're relying on the government in order to help you with, if you're a single mother or a single parent, or you've got a disabled child, or if you've lost your job, or if you're going on maternity leave, all these sort of things, I would plan for those to be taken away. Also, this is another scary thing, but if you have some sort of 401k or a superannuation fund in Australia or whatever, there's a possibility that in 20 or 30 years when you go to claim that will be back in the control of the government, because the government will be bankrupt. And I hope none of this happens. But all I'm saying right now, to start off with a good start to the 2025 year, is please hustle. It's like really lock in. If I could give a couple of pieces of advice, it would be: don't drink, don't do drugs, get adequate sleep, spend as much time as you can on the computer, listening to podcasts, learning using different blockchains, and just upskilling aggressively. This is probably your year to cancel your Netflix or whatever. When you need to get outside, get outside. Just keep yourself healthy, keep yourself fit, and just hustle for one more year. and I think you'll be far better off. And even if you don't make the financial target, which might be like 5 million or 10 million or 1 million or whatever it may be for you, at the very least, you put in 10, maybe 50 times more effort than the random person that's just doing their 9-to-5 job or doing their job. And if things get bad, you'll have 10 different skills that you can work with, and they'll be stuck with one. Anyway, all the best for 2025. Everything is linked below, and let me know your thoughts.
Whoa! Yeah.